did Tohu Bohu come from, Nigel?
Colombia.
Oh, Colombia.
It's
Where's
indigenous
that?
to Colombia, South America.
Ah, is that an O on M? U, Colombia. Right, I'm ready.
O-M.
I'm ready to choose now. And I don't know which one to choose. It seems to me rather interesting, this. It's not very funny, but they're not very interesting.
Get on with it.
We've got Tohu Bohu, sounds obviously a Far Eastern. Tohu Bohu, doesn't it? So we get the Tohu Bohu, which is a throat pastil for... and we got Tohu Bohu, which is your definition. And suddenly we get Voltaire's ancient Hebraic emptiness. The idea of you and ancient Hebraic emptiness is so appealing that I'm going to choose that.
Aha, it was Patrick who said it. True or bluff?
Once again, losing is fun.
Did that last time.
Tohu Bohu was this sense of emptiness, of which it seems Voltaire wrote. Arsheen is the next word, and Frank is going to define it.
Arsheen is a member of a kind of heretical sect who didn't exactly flourish, but they mucked about on the east coast of Scotland in the 15th century. Dull lot, really. There's a bit of polygamy, but not all that much. It was mainly a sort of church wrangle. How they hoped to succeed so near the mighty Cathedral and University of St Andrews, I don't know.
Not again.
But they didn't, and in fact they disappeared. But an Arsheen was a Scottish heretic, 15th century East Coast, or wasn't.
Right now, Tim.
If you cast your minds back to the good old days, before metrication and before the Russian Revolution, then Arsheen comes into its own, because an Arsheen is a unit of length. So instead of, Patrick, you being 6'4", you'd be about 2.6 Arsheens. Because an Arsheen was used in Russia, pre-Trotsky, pre-Lenin, and it was about 28.1 inches. It was the average length of a soldier's stride. Not the length of his strides, but of his stride.
Is Arsheen.
Right.
Okay, right. Jenny Agutter, your turn.
Arsheen is a gold-like alloy of copper and zinc, which is sometimes referred to as Turkish gold. This is because the Turks used to roll it into very, very thin leaves and coat cheap hardware, such as presentation watches to junior officials.
Presentation watches to junior officials.
A joke. Joke, Paddy. Love. Cracker smile,
Well,
lad.
let me tell you all the three definitions. They are that it is a Scottish heretic, a Russian measure of length, and an alloy. Patrick's turn.
Impassive Faces team. Give nothing away.
We have a total disagreement here as ever.
Good.
Captain dashing ahead bravely, on his own. It is...
Give nothing away.
I don't believe that heresy was confined to the east coast of Scotland. I think it spread everywhere.
He's wrong.
Beginning in Glasgow. A soldier's stride.
He's spinning it out a bit.
It's a kind of... that all that drivel that she... It's heresy.
It's what?
What's heresy?
It's Frank's heresy.
Just a terribly frightening sort of exclamation on a programme like this. Frank, true or bluff?
It's a bit more Hebrew emptiness.
Oh.
That's
Nothing to do with heresy. Who gave the true definition of Arsheen? Lo and behold.
You told me, didn't you?
Yes. It's the Russian measure of length. Tim Rice was quite right to say it. Now here we have Radowa, or, well, how do you pronounce it, I wonder? Nigel Dempster.
Radowa.
Ah.
Were we all now in Bohemia, and were a Bohemian orchestra to strike up a stately 3/4 tempo, I would rush across to Jenny Agutter and request her to join me in a redowa. The redowa is a slowish waltz of Bohemian origin, which is more like a mazurka, and it is danced in a rather haughty and languid fashion.
Not a lot of that about these days, is there? No, more than a pity. Sinead, your turn.
Redowa. That's how it's pronounced because, as you probably all know, it's a Polish word. And it means the senior servant, female servant, in a Polish castle. And she's very grand, much grander than an English butler. She has her own apartment and she has her own personal maid. Oh, yes, and she wears a sash by tradition across her chest, a bit like a sergeant major, as a badge of her high office.
Saying Miss Poland.
Patrick's turn now.
If certain people could leave other people's definitions alone. A redowa is an old-fashioned upholstered North American barber's chair. They're made of leather, and nicely buttoned. You can tip it back like that. It was sitting in a redowa that Mark Twain got most of his inspiration.
And a shave.
Who's doing this, you or me? He said, all my great ideas came to me when I was immobilized in my redowa.
So then, it's this kind of barber's chair. It's a slow waltz, and it's a very superior Polish servant. And Tim Rice has to make a choice now.
Well, I instantly dismissed the barber's chair. Ridiculous. Crazy. Impossible.
Yeah. It's really bad. Yeah.
Next, I would also like to dismiss instantly the 3/4 waltz, something about rather like a moussaka or something. Not plausible. Sinead's thing, possible. Senior female Polish, but she said it was grander than an English butler. Nothing is grander than an English butler. So, reluctantly, I come back to Patrick, and I think it's Mark Twain's chair.
Well, certainly Patrick did say something of the sort. Now, true or bluff, Patrick?
Let's get a gloat.
Bluff.
No chair. Who gave the real definition of redowa or redova? Or
Could it have been?
however?
I think it seems to be.
Good Lord.
No.
He's so excited. It is indeed a slow waltz. A redowa is 2-1. The next word is Machen, or, well, I wonder how they do pronounce it. Tim Rice.
Well, the man who gave his name to Machen was called Machen, Henry Machen, and he was a theatrical person who hung around in the 19th century. And it's an old theatrical word coined by this gentleman, which means bangle, bracelet, ornament. And in those days, it was almost more common to call it a Machen than to call it a bangle, bracelet, or ornament. But it was only really caught on big in rather vulgar theatrical circles.
Right.
Which we all know.
Jenny.
It's actually pronounced Mashan. And if you're on a Mashan, you're in the safest possible place when you're hunting tiger. Whether you're in the Burmese jungle or in the grounds of Longleat. It's a platform erected high in the trees from which, with a loaded gun and with your eyes narrowed to slits, you can watch out for tigers.
Yep.
Why not keep them open?
You might catch sight of them.
Oh, you're good. You get nervous.
Frank, your turn.
I don't know whether you've ever tried to play This Is My Lovely Day or The Ride of the Valkyries on the bagpipes. But it is exceedingly difficult because the range is too wide for them. But if you do have a tune or air playable within the range of a bagpipe, it's called a machen. A Pieboch, for instance, is a Macken. But the Ride of the Valkyries, isn't by a long way. No, forget.
Super acting, Frank. You're just like Ray on that.
Didn't do any imitations, though, Frank. What with bagpipes, I thought we might get a bit of... Well, no, perhaps I shouldn't tempt you. It's cheap theatrical jewellery, it's tiger shooting platform, where you're safe as houses, and it's bagpipe music. Now, whose turn is it? Yes, Nigel's.
I think we can discount Frank immediately because he was...
It's always the same.
No. It was almost there, Frank, but it was just that slight second syllable which you think. And cheap jewellery, this could never be. Tiger's equally improbable because in Longleat you only shoot Lord Bath, and
Miss.
there's only one of him. I think it's... I'll go for tigers. Jenny Agutter.
Tigers, yes.
Ooh,
Jenny.
that was so quick, wasn't it?
Were you bluffing, or was it true?
You were...
Perfectly true. Macken is a very nice platform to be up when you're out shooting tigers. 2-2. Pulch is the next one. Sinead, your turn.
To pulch, in the phraseology of a pharmacist, is a verb meaning of a medicine to make it sharper to the taste, more stimulating. And to quote an 18th century prescription for the treatment of colic, the magnesia water may be pulched by the addition of a few drops of tincture of senna.
Oh, there's more than pulch, you, wouldn't it?
Serious stuff. Patrick, your turn.
A pulch is a monosyllabic fish, like a tench or a dace. Or a kipper, isn't it?
No.
A 2 syllables. A poor, sad little fish, monosyllabic fish, of the gudgeon family.
Whale. Oh, whale's another one.
It's used as bait by many fishermen, but it's so thick, it's so silly, it's almost certifiably stupid. It can only be used as bait if you can catch it with the taste, the dench, and the dench and the taste.
The stench of dench.
Nigel, Dempster's go.
A pulch, if I can pronounce it in its northern vernacular, is an underground wheelbarrow. It's a wheelbarrow with rather larger than ordinary wheels, which was used by coal miners at the coalface. And one of the more shaming exhibits at the Miners' Museum in Stockton is a scaled-down version of a pulch, which was used by children in Victorian times when they worked at the coalface.
One wheel.
One at the...
Don't answer.
But he said a wheelbarrow.
But the big wheel at the front,
Yes.
one wheel only.
I see.
Nothing at the back except two little...
Right, that's not it.
And if...
You want to say some more? No.
Well, I
You've said enough.
Do, Nigel.
The children, it was on their shoulders, you see.
Oh, dear.
So it came that way.
Awful.
It was very cruel.
Yes.
I'm told.
Well, it's a monosyllabic fish. It's a sort of cold barrow, whether wheel or otherwise, wheelbarrow. And it's to make medicine put more jizz in it, I suppose. Jenny, your turn.
I do, but you...
There's disagreement. I can't believe Nigel Dempster because he doesn't really know fully whether it's a wheelbarrow. It's just too. So I won't go for that. It sounds too much like pilchards and perch for the fish. Pulch. I mean, it's too close to pilchard, I think. And I rather liked the idea of it being making taste sharper. Was it?
Yes.
Yes, with senna pods.
Yes.
You're choosing that, my dear.
I'm going to go for the taste.
Yes, that was said by Sinead. Yes, she may have been bluffing, she may not. True or bluff? Here it comes. Aha! Is it ever senapod, one asks oneself. Sometimes it is, though. Who gave the true definition?
It's not. No, it's Penny.
A pulch is a pilchard's uncle.
Down the hole. It's a fish, is a pulch or pulch. 3-2, decubitus we have. Jenny Agutter.
The decubitus is the position or posture you take up when you're lying on a bed. People who sleep on their sides, all hunched up, are in a fetal decubitus. And if they're lying with their arms outstretched, they're in a starfish decubitus, etc.
But what's the
etc., yeah. Well, we just
there's
have to...
several decubitus that you can sleep in.
Oh, yes.
Comfortably.
Yes. Any posture you take, a decubitus. Frank, your go.
Wait.
Decubitus is, you may take notes, decubitus is a drinking vessel made in the shape of a dolphin. No, straight face. It mustn't be a haddock or a whale or pilch or pulch or pilchard's nephew. It's got to be a dolphin, usually with a fin elongated as a handle. It's a dolphin-shaped drinking vessel.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Frank.
A drinking vessel in the shape of a dolphin. Is it?
I think you've rubbed that in. I
Just
think
leave it at
you've
that,
grasped,
then.
they've grasped it. Tim.
I could say a lot about this word. Decubitus. Latin origin, decubare, meaning to become broody or pertaining to a hen. Some things in life are very amusing, and this is one of them.
You say a bit more.
No, I'm going to say more.
Oh, good.
He's been.
I'm going to say an awful lot more. In 1839, approximately, there was very little that could be done to hatch out hens, hatch out eggs from hens. So a very bright spark came up with a decubitus. You may scoff, you may laugh, but this was a very primitive method of getting heat into the place where the hen was. And after the Latin, decubare. The Romans had a word, broody, hen, and that's what it is. It was a mid-19th century hen hatching device, mainly pumping in heat into the hen house.
So, in short, it's an early incubator. It's the posture you take up in bed, and it's a drinking vessel in the shape of a dolphin. Sinead, your turn.
Well, this won't take long, will it?
I'm in complete disagreement with my team.
My team, not your team.
I can't believe about the bed positions. Because, I mean, there must be a plural version. You kept saying decubituses, and it would have been decubiti or something.
Oh, peasant.
Well, I just thought it was a strange way of saying the plural. I was very fond of.
And I'm fond of you,
yes,
too.
the dolphin. I like that.
It's smashing, isn't it?
Very sweet. I just couldn't believe for a moment in the hen hatching device. I mean, it just didn't make any sense to me whatsoever, that one. No, I'm going for the dolphin.
The dolphin. The
shaped drinking vessel.
The drinking vessel that's the shape of a dolphin. Frank, tell her. True or bluff?
I can't find the right card.
They're probably all the same, aren't they?
No, not anything to do with dolphins or drinking vessel. Who gave the true definition of it?
It's
Oh, you were...
You see, it was that.
we warned you.
I could tell. You had that look about. Decubitus is the shape, the posture you take up when you lie in bed. 3-all, an interesting stage in the game. Huxing is the next one, and Patrick to define it.
If you have an old two-masted wooden-hulled schooner, and come into the harbour with the wind out of the east, and tie her up at the side, you see, the key, and you throw out your string. This is when huxing used to take place with an old wooden hull. You throw out your fender, not of course a brass fender, but kind of an old boat or something like that, but even the cook. Even more string and rope. He hucks against the side of the keys. He hucks away like anything. You say, Captain, we're hucksing on the port side. We'll do something. You say, do something about it, fool. You say, yes, sir. But hucksing. Squeak, squeak, crunch, crunch. It's all about that.
Yes, great display of nautical terminology there. Nigel Dempster, your turn.
Well, hucksing is the lazy fisherman's way of catching pike. Having baited each hook, he attaches a balloon to them and throws the balloon out over the water. And then he's able to take it easy on the river bank, waiting for the balloon to bobble around and alert him that he's actually caught something. Hucksing.
Now, Sinead, what do you tell us?
A hucksing is an old man's 5 o'clock shadow. It's that sort of wiry stubble that you find on an old man's chin or cheeks. A hucksing, or a huxen, it can be spelled Huxen, is a hazard that women have to put up with. Women that go around kissing unshaven grandfathers.
They go around it.
No names, no pack drill. Now, it's evidently when a ship rubs against the side of the dock, it's the stubble on the elderly, white and so on, and it's a method of catching fish with balloons. Frank?
I'll just try to make it look difficult, if you don't mind, by not knowing quite which to choose. Old man with stubble trouble, boat scraping its strake, and catching pike with pins,
Balloons.
baited, and a balloon.
They bobble.
They all sound very, very, very fine, don't they? I have some small knowledge of fishing, none at all of two-masted schooners, and very little apart from personal experience of old men. So as I know that, in my experience, pike are not caught in that fashion, I'm going to choose it.
Nice thinking. I wonder if it is. True or bluff, it was Nigel Dempster who said that. He got it. Pike aren't caught by balloons. How on earth are they caught? This will be our last word now, and it might be an interesting result yet. Frank. Oh, yes. You say it.
What about Frankel Muir?
There's almost a line in Macefield's poem Cargoes, which goes, "Dirty British coaster with an oat-cake plate rack, butting through the channel in the mad March days." Well, a Frankel is an oat-cake plate rack.
A smokestack.
Extremely difficult to say. No, it's a kitchen thing, rather like a plate rack, only the division is much smaller, and it's used for drying oat cakes after they've been cooked in Scotland. Because, but hark, because the oat cakes are supposed to cool off when they're standing upright, like toast. There we are.
Now we'll have to dart fairly quickly, Tim, for your definition.
It's a tantrum.
That's very quick. That's fairly quick. Good. That's what we wanted, really. Jenny, your turn.
Frankel, it is actually a verb, means to get entangled with, as a puppy might get entangled with its lead. It also has a figurative meaning. It means to lose the thread of your thought.
Right, it means to dry oatcake. It's a device for so doing. To become entangled, literally and metaphorically, and a tantrum. Patrick.
Leave this to me, Tim. I'll handle this one for you. It isn't a tantrum. It's too quick for a tantrum, isn't it? It was a Frank, then you can get a tantrum. But a Frankel, it's too long for a tantrum. It isn't... yes, a minute.
I must
it is
hurry you along.
oat-cake grid machine.
The oatcake of Frank Muir.
No. It is definitely...
No oatcake, no dryer. Give us the true definition as quick as you like.
No. Not you, darling.
Yes, indeedy.
No. How can it be?
not fair.
It's to become entangled. So there, you have the score, 5-3.
What a nice game.
Isn't it just? I declare Frank Muir's team the winners. So we'll have some more discontinued lines from the OED next week. Until then, goodbye from Nigel Dempster, Tim Rice, Sinead Cusack, Jenny Agutter, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir,
Good night.
and goodbye. Hello again. Let me welcome you to Call My Bluff, where almost as tall as the story he will tell you is, yes, Frank Muir.
My first guest hasn't been on the programme before. She's a writer, she's a Sunday Telegraph magazine journalist and playwright, and her name is Tina Brown. My second guest has been on before. He's a musician, Andre Previn.
And honorary member of the Little Folk, even though he is 7'3", Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. My first guest is unbelievably beautiful, incredibly intelligent, and a superb actress, simply called Barbara Kellerman. And to my other guest, all those adjectives can be applied, including beauty. He's called Tom Conti. We've done that hard bit, that's the last thing.
Now we have to start the real thing. I ring the bell, and we get a word. Sniddle. It's usually a word like that, sniddle. And what happens is that Frank Muir and his team define sniddle 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false ones. 1 is true. That is the one that Patrick and company are going to try and pick out. What of sniddle, Frank?
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll find some bonza gaff, get a flash cove, dip him for his rhino, and then we'll come back here and sniddle.
It's old thieves' cant term, as indeed were the rest. Sniddle means the divvy up, means to divvy up after the burglary or the robbery.
I think we'll play that bit at the end again by popular request, I should think.
Slow motion replay.
Andre, your turn.
Well, it should be fairly simple. This is a nation of cheese lovers, and sniddle is, in fact, the floor covering in any cheese room. It is a carpet made of old dried coarse grass and sedge and the like, which allows the various cheeses, Cheshire cheese in particular, to breathe and to permeate the room with their lovely odours. That's what it is.
Right, so it's Tina Brown's turn now.
The sniddle is a piece of wood which coal miners place as a wedge on the wheel of a coal cart to stop it careering down the path after they've laden it with coal. And in Derbyshire, it's sometimes abbreviated to a snid. Fetch the snid, Jack, for the coal cart.
Right, so it's a thieves' share-out, thieves' cant for a sort of share-out. It's that sort of wedge, and it's the floor covering in a cheese place where they make cheese, I suppose. Patrick, pick one.
I can't believe that Frank has gone to all the trouble to do that. of apparent burglars if it wasn't a true one. But wait, don't, I haven't made my mind yet. Tina talking about a snid, not a sniddle. She knows more about sniddles than I do, or she does either.
What? That was very good.
If she knew anything about sniddles, she might call it a snid. That's not it. But what about people don't spread cheeses all over carpets. Unless you're right, of course. It's a cheese carpet.
Well, I think that's what Andre Previn more or less said, yes, sort of the bottom part of
You actually
the
believe
room.
I do believe
True or
that
bluff?
with all my heart.
Extraordinary.
It is indeed what they cover the floor of a cheese house with.
Did my nut for nothing.
Yes. You've still got time, Frank. We can have it again. Agrom is the next one, and Patrick's going to tell us about that.
Agrom was a kind of military command. Very, very old military command. So, Agrom. The Battle of Crécy, Agincourt, that kind of thing. Because if you're going to Agrom, you're going to go down on one knee, kind of half kneeling down, because you've got the archers behind you after you've done your little bit of archery. You want to Agrom in order to present yourself as getting pierced by your archers behind you.
Stands to reason.
Whoever won the Battle of Crécy and Agincourt, kind of double event, employed this method. That's all.
Yeah, right, yes. Tried and trusted. Yes, Tom Conti's turn now.
Yes, well, agrom is a disorder of the alimentary canal, which troubled Indians living in Bengal. They kept falling in it. Once they'd covered it up, they discovered it wasn't quite a disease. No, it's a dreadful bellyache, and it does awful things to the tongue. It gives your tongue the appearance of a brandy snap, pitted with brown craters. You can fill it with cream and jam if you like, but that's really what it is. It's a bad disorder of the alimentary canal.
Right now, Barbara, your turn.
Agrom is a herb once cultivated by the royal vineyards of ancient Egypt. And the dried leaves of agrom produce a kind of yeast which is used in the fermentation of wine, destined for the cellars of such potentates as Cleopatra and the Ptolemies.
Yes, well, it's an herb. It's a disorder of the alimentary canal, not this time of sheep, but of Indians. And you crouch down on one knee, so let the archers fire over the top of you, should you ever find yourself in that situation. Frank, your turn.
Yes.
It's sort of utterly transparent, but I'll have to play with it for a bit, just to give the illusions,
Yes,
to give a bit of suspense.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's a pitted tongue. It's so revolting. I really don't know. Think of all the curry lodging in it. And I don't honestly think we can stomach that. Ancient herbs for Egyptian wine. You can't call out
Agrom, front rank, by the left. Agrom.
Oh, yes, you can. Come on, Paddy, let's try you.
You're choosing the command. Yes, it was... no, it was crouch on one knee, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, yes. True or bluff?
It must have been. It must have been.
Now we have the true definition. Moment of rare satisfaction. Here it comes.
Little alimentary canal.
Ka-choing. Yep.
Beautifully done. Down the hole. Put yours down the hole too.
The disorder of the alimentary canal is what agrom is. And then we have rehammer. And it's Andre Previn's turn to tell us about it.
Well, suppose you were to hang a picture or something decorative on the wall, and you took a hammer and a nail and you hammered away, and you got through, or so you think, and you step back and you see that you have not actually hammered the thing in enough. You then take your hammer and you re-hammer it, see? Thus driving the nail in a bit farther. Simplistic, but there you are.
Yes. Certain natural beauty there. Tina Brown.
Well, rehammer, or rehammer, as it's pronounced in Holland, is a Dutch civil servant whose duties are very similar to that of an English town clerk. And he travels all over the country reporting to the burgomaster when he gets home. He's a peripatetic town clerk, and he's Dutch.
Peripatetic town clerk?
Yeah. Gets around.
Right, Frank, your go.
Rehammer is the 4th season of the Islamic religious year. It is during Rehammer that devout Muslims have to put off things like hang gliding, water polo, and have to settle down to studying the prophetic reasonings of the Quran.
So, you say that it's the 4th season of the Islamic year. It's hammering something again, re-hammering it, and it's a peripatetic Dutch civil servant. Not a Turkish one this time, but a Dutch one. Tom Conti.
Yes. Well, Frank strikes me as a frightfully kind of irreligious chap, so I can't imagine that he would have done enough study of Indian and other religions to have come up with this definition, so I have to discard that one, really. I think probably the Dutch one would have been spelt with one M. But I think that anyone who has the gall, really, to come up with the definition that Andre Previn came up with deserves a point. So I'll go for the re-hammering.
You choose the one. It was indeed Andre Previn.
Quick, don't give him a chance to change his mind.
Really?
True or bluff, was it?
I mean, conductors have to have gall. It's unbelievable.
But Dickens, did you think it was when you hit a hammer twice? You re-hammer it. What else could it be, really? Now, the next one is Hulve. I think the score's a trifle wrong there, but who knows? I may have got it wrong myself.
I'd leave it. It'll be there.
You think? Tom Conti, will you give us a definition of Hulve?
I don't think I've got time out here. You may not believe this coming after the horrors of the alimentary canal. Hulve is a sewer. It's the main sewer, not just any old sewer, it's the big one. It used to even run down the middle of the road. It doesn't now. But it's the main sewer that can all the little tributaries put all into the main one, and it all goes down to the sea for the benefit of bathers, surf riders, that sort of thing. It's a sewer.
Right, now it's Barbara Kellerman's turn.
Well, it was the chief burial ground in Dundee, and it was the garden of a Franciscan friary. And it's been long since deconsecrated. It's probably now, in fact, it is now a car park. And the word lives on in the Scots vernacular as a place of contemplation, a thinking man's retreat.
Car park.
Yes.
Well, not a car park, a thinking man's retreat.
Ideal for picnics. Right, Patrick.
A hulva is an old Dorsetshire fisherman's word for stake. A stake. In order to dry their nets and to mend the holes in them, they put a load of stakes around the beach. A fairly tedious occupation, but it's enlivened by the fact that if one stake is higher than the ones beside it, it's called a bosom stake or bosom hulva.
It's a burial ground in Dundee, now deconsecrated. It's a sewer, and it's a stake on which you hang your nets in Dorset, if nets you have. Andre.
I discount yours, Paddy, because surely it would, it would be two stakes that would be called bosom stakes, wouldn't it? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. One higher than the other. I see, it's a daunting thought. Then I get confused. There was something about people being buried in a car park. That was yours, was it?
No, it's now used as a car
now
park.
Used
it
as
was
a car
consecrated
park.
ground. Yeah.
I see. I tell you what, though, the main sewer is too close to the alimentary canal, and I don't think they'd give you two more or less alimentary canals in a row. I go for the contemplative car park myself. Barbara.
Yes, the place she spoke of. Yes, Barbara, it was you. True on that. She looks pretty well pleased, you know. Aha! So, who gave the real, the true, the authentic definition of that word? Hull, Hoover?
It's the colonic irrigation show, folks.
He spoke of the sewer, and it was true, every word he said. Agrestein, that looks nice and interesting. Tina Brown's turn.
Well, if your falcon or hawk gets a dose of agrestein, I would strongly advise you to call your local bird doctor, because it's a really filthy disease of the tail feathers. They drop out. They just turn rusty and mouldy and fall off one by one, to the intense dismay of the falcon concerned.
Right, now, Frank, follow that.
There used to be a lot more of this about than there is now, funnily enough. Quite a lot of it's got... You get a bit of it in, I suppose, in the Middle East with people with cameras. But you used to get a hell of a lot more of it, medieval times particularly. And agrestein is the look you get from somebody with an evil eye. You're going to get one now, Peter.
You don't care to say more, Frank. No, you're probably well advised. Andre.
Well, no, agrestein is a collective name for small marbles or beads made of primitive glass. And they're found by archaeologists who go rooting around Denmark and other Scandinavian countries, although some of them have been found in Schleswig-Holstein. Although, of course, people are a bit baffled by when the earliest of these artifacts were found. It has been guessed that they go back as far as the Phoenicians.
So it's an evil look. It's these ancient beads that you find in Denmark, sometimes in Schleswig-Holstein, and it's a disease of hawks, their back feathers.
Well, it's all your fault, not mine.
Your pick.
Come on, it's anybody's game.
It's a 2-to-1 chance.
Disease of the tail feathers. I don't see tail in the word. Yes, well, no. It sounds improbable to me. I don't know. A look from the evil eye, that's almost too easy in a way. Agrestein eye, I don't know. Marbles. That's what it was, wasn't it? Marbles.
Marbles, beads, that sort of thing.
Beads. Yeah. I think I'm going to go, because it's so obvious. Look from the evil eye.
Look from the evil eye.
Frank.
Frank, you said that, didn't you? Own up.
Oh, dear.
You tease, were you teasing?
No.
Yes, he was! Now, the thing is, we must ask who gave us the true definition, and there it is, I think. Yes, it's got... Ah, look! Tina Brown was right. She spoke about... Sometimes it is a disease of hawks, or of sheep, but not very often on this programme, but just once in a way. 4-1, you've still got a chance, Frank. Arcana. Barbara, your turn.
It's a Portuguese word originally, meaning an open space. And it was adopted into English and became a request or order, meaning make room for the dance. Thus, in a highly sophisticated environment, the host or hostess might sort of mumble the word arcana, and that would mean that the orchestra would kind of tune up, and the footmen would roll back the carpet.
Get down on one
arcana.
knee.
Yes.
Arcana.
Now, it's Patrick's go. What does he tell us?
Arcana, a kind of brownish, whitish chalk which is used by carpenters. If you take a carpenter and a plank and a saw, I want to bring these three ingredients together. you need a piece of arcana in order to draw a line on the plank. Certainly the carpenter is not going to cut it, as it were, vertically, a little bit sideways, because he's a lazy carpenter, but at least it's going to be fairly straight. He can also use this brownish whitish chalk for a little notice on the door of his workshop. Gone to lunch.
You could shove it up his nose and call it snuff.
No, gone to lunch.
Tom Conti, your go.
Well, arcana is a name coined by a German physicist called Reichenbach, who, as all lovers of Conan Doyle will know, invented the waterfall, for a rather awful substance which was produced by mixing bread and meat, glutamate, sugar, starch together, until it turned into a kind of brown awfulness.
At which you specialise, I might say.
Yes, and there's a lot of it on the show. And he coined this phrase when given this for dinner one evening by his wife, Reichenbach, who spoke with a thick Scottish accent, of course, said, "Oh, arcana, eat that." Name for the delicacy made by
Frank, you better look to your laurels if he keeps on like that. Anyway, it's brown chalk used by carpenters. It's sort of cooked nasty, and it's a word meaning please make room, we'll have a dance now. Tina, your turn.
But you...
Well, they all seem as lunatic as each other, really. I'm pretty hard-pressed. I don't think I'm going to pander to Tom Conti's excremental obsession any longer. I think he's talking nonsense. I think it's between Paddy or you. I don't believe in your workman who's got this piece of chalk at all. I don't think that's it. I think it might have to be the Portuguese way of saying clear the room for a tango, but I don't really think it is. But I
for a dance.
You're going to choose that, are you?
I'm going to choose that.
Yes, good. That was Barbara Kellerman. True or bluff?
Don't do it again.
No. So, who gave the true definition? Which of the two remaining? Whence comes it? Lo. It's the brown chalk.
And that's the lunch.
Well done, Pauline. Still don't
Yes,
believe.
indeed. 5-1. Goodness me. Let's have another word. Oriva is the next word, and Frank, you define it.
Yes, when salmon have little babies, they do it in a rather individual manner because they sort of swim right through oceans back to the river where they started, and they leap up. It's difficult. You think they'd sort of stroll home. But no, they find these rivers which they have to leap up these sort of natural ladders. That's a reeve.
No, it's not.
It is, you say. Right, well, now, what does Andre Previn say?
Natural ladder, reeve.
Well, I say that a reeve was a member of a protest group which set about demolishing toll gates in Yorkshire around mid-19th century, to be exact, 1842 or so. And the reason for that is quite obvious, because until 1842 there had been no toll gates in any of Yorkshire, you see. They put up these toll gates, and suddenly the people said, well, why indeed should we be taxed for this? And there was a great epidemic of toll gate destroying in Yorkshire.
Wednesday's laugh.
Well, a reeva is a kind of toothless garden fork which sweeps the floor of a cider press free of apples, pulped apples, in fact. It's very useful when you've been pulping apples to sweep them up afterwards.
You don't leave them hanging about, do you?
Not quite. Get in the way. Toothless garden.
Be up to your knees in them before you knew. It's a demolisher of toll gates, then, in Yorkshire. It's a broom or fork or that for sweeping up the apple bits. And it's a ladder for fish to get up. Patrick.
I probably know more about the 18th and 19th history of Yorkshire than anyone else in the whole world.
Well, then it's an obvious choice, isn't it?
So therefore, they didn't have toll gates then, and even if they had them, they wouldn't have called themselves rebus if they were trying to get rid of them. So for these solid grounds, I dismiss your contemptible drivel out of hand. On the next one.
We do underestimate Paddy, don't we?
Yes.
Brushing around with a brushless brush and a toothless rake. It's a little ladder for salmon's babies.
A little ladder for salmon's baby. That was Frank, wasn't it, Frank? True or bluff, was it? Your little ladder.
Oh!
No.
You're all right.
Ladder for fish, they can do it without any assistance. Who gave the true definition?
Yes.
It was yours.
You're right, yes.
If you told me louder, you're fool.
The ladder, not the ladder, the thingy for brushing up apple cores and apple pulp. And the next one is Muffy, and Patrick defines Muffy for us.
I blush a little when we're talking about Muffy, but actually it's a clean sporting game, really. A Muffy is the thing that you aim at in the game of muffers.
Of course it
Yes.
Which is really horseshoe quoits. If you stick a lump of iron in the ground and you hurl a horseshoe at it with the intention of encircling the muffy, that's what the muffy is called. You can say, I've muffied. I've got 4 muffies to your 2 muffies. I've got 5 muffies to your 2 muffies. Horseshoe quoits.
As some call it. Yes, now, Tom, your turn.
Well, Muffy is, of course, a Scottish word, which means banking up the fire. Just before it goes out completely at night, you muffy it by putting coal dust or ashes or anything onto it. And in the stillness of a Scottish winter night, you might hear, "You do the muffin tonight, Hamish. I've got one of my agrams coming on." Bank up the fire.
He works hard, this lad. Right, Barbara.
Yes. Muffy's an adjective, and it means resembling. Well, it resembles a lady's muff or hand warmer. I mean, from the word muffy, and well, I mean, what comes to mind? Meaning muffy is a Cossack's furry hat, the top end of a bulrush, or a long-haired dachshund.
Yes, well, it's of a muff.
Of a muff.
It's what you throw quite at, and it's to bank up a fire in Scotland. Frank, which did you choose of these?
Not mad about the horseshoe quoits heaving really at the peg. Is a taller one a breast muffy? You're going round in a circle with your...
Private information.
Ah. Banking up the fire in the bin or the butt. I never know which bit's the butt and which is the bin in the house anyway. Don't think that's it. Can we do this twice? That a muffy's a thing that's muff-like? Let's have a go. Flash the card.
You're going to have her muffy, yes?
Yes.
The literal...
Barbara, you said it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
True or
yes.
bluff? She has to own up now. Sphinx-like.
No.
You've got it!
I told you, I
I saw you haver an old Scottish word itself, Frank, there, but you couldn't have 2 that were of or genitives in the same.
Well, rehammer was it?
Rehammer and muffy,
Yes,
yes.
it's a bit of a dodgy choice.
Yeah, proves you can, though, doesn't it? There you are. Anyway, yes. Well, the score standing at 5-3, no doubt about it. Patrick Campbell's team has won. So we shall be paying another visit to the Madame Tussaud of the English language next week. Till then, goodbye from Andre Previn, Tom Conti, Tina Brown, Barbara Kellerman, Frank Muir. Patrick Campbell. And goodbye. Hello again. Welcome to Call My Bluff, the upmarket version of Horseshoe Quoits, which features Patrick Campbell.
And I have back again to my aid my two glittering prizes. First of all, a girl who could convulse even a graveyard with her laugh, Barbara Kellerman. And the other glittering prize is none other than Tom Conti.
And the rector of St Andrews, though of course we just call him Lofty, Frank Muir.
Back into the fray comes our semi-winning team of last week. In the red collar, writer... Hang on. Writer Tina Brown. And the blue collar, £145. That's not his fee, by the way. Is man of music, Andre Previn.
Let's have a word by Tingerling, and we get Wogel, and it's my part to tell you that Patrick and his team will define this word three different ways. Two of the definitions are bogus ones, one is true. That's the one that Frank and co try and pick out. So, Patrick, what about Wogel?
A Vogel is a member of a Russian tribe that inhabit a little village called Tobolsk.
Oh.
Which is only 250 miles from Omsk. And the only interesting thing about the Boguls is that, try as they might, they never get any higher than 5 feet 5 off the ground.
That's cast everyone into a gloom. They must try harder. Tom Conti's turn.
A Wogel is a Welsh truffle, isn't it? It's an underground fungus growth, wouldn't you?
Is that the case?
You've heard of French truffles and the pigs that search them out?
The truffles?
This is a Welsh truffle, and they have leeks to search them. No, that's not true. It's a fungus found. Actually, the best place to look for them, I believe, is in Boncathy Forest in Pembrokeshire.
Right.
That's all I have to say.
Yes, yes. Tremendously good value. Barbara.
Yes. The Wogel is a hybrid bird that features in Scandinavian mythology. And it's half swan, half wild goose. And it's the property of Bridget, wife of the god Odin, and is used, or was used, by her for the conveyance of messages in the same way that one would use a carrier pigeon.
Right.
Wogel.
So it's a Welsh truffle. It's a fabulous bird owned by Bridget Odin, Mrs. Bridget Odin, and it's a Russian tribe, rather short in stature. Frank.
The only mythical bird with a name like a Wogel sort of eventually disappears, doesn't it, after... So I don't think it's that.
Well, it's not mythical now. I mean, it was.
Well, yes, it wouldn't be now, because it's disappeared, you see. Up its own myth. I think so we are faced, are we not, ladies and gentlemen, with a choice between a Welsh truffle and a 5'5" is rather tall, Patrick. Not for you, but
or for you either.
So, no, it can't be that. It must be a Welsh truffle.
Welsh truffle. Now, that was...
What say you, Conti?
Yes, it's Tom Conti. Tom Conti owns up.
Is the wrong one.
No. Nothing to do with a Welsh truffle. Who knows if there are such things. But who gave the true definition of this word, wogull? Or vogel or something?
Two of you, Frank, would make one vogel.
So Russian tribe, standing about 5.5 feet. Spilching is our next word, and Frank defines it.
Were it not for a it's a very important thing, this. Were it not for a spilching or spilch, your umbrella would just be a circle of cloth and a bundle of apparently black fish bones. Because a spilching is the collar into which the ribs fit, in which you shove up and down. So without that, nothing. You've just got nothing. Incidentally, when you push it up and it goes clunk, because it goes into a little thing, the little thing it goes into, the little spring that shape, is called a fillet. Isn't that sweet?
Right, so Andre Previn tells us something now.
Spilching one would have found in the little black bag of a medieval doctor, because it was in fact a poultice, simple poultice. It was in fact just a piece of medieval combed wool with some kind of nasty medieval salve on it, which I suppose the medieval GP put on your medieval bee's sting or whatever other nastiness you might have contracted. That's what it is.
Right, now it's Tina Brown's go.
Well, if your house was built entirely of spilchings, you would never get a mortgage from any decent building society. It's an overcooked house brick, which has been too long in the kiln, and a spilching in a wall usually comes to light when the weather's been particularly foul, because it starts to crumble and generally disintegrate. So that's a spilching.
So it's part of an umbrella. It's an overbaked brick, and it's an ancient sort of poultice. Patrick.
You don't need a collar on an umbrella to keep it under control, or to call it a spilching. I have not disposed of you yet. Hang around. Anyone that builds a house with overcooked bricks doesn't call them spilchings. They call them something far worse, and they throw them at the builder. And they're called overcooked bricks, not spilchings. This poultice stuff, well, I think it's an umbrella.
You think it's part of an umbrella?
Part of an umbrella.
He thinks it's part of an umbrella, Frank. You led him on there. Were you pulling his leg? Yes, he was. Not a part of an umbrella at all. Here comes the true definition. Which of them would it be? Lo and behold, yes.
Don't say you knew that. That's going on.
It's the overbaked brick that goes rather brittle, and so on. 1-1. Ruders is our next one, and Tom Conti defines it.
I can't say much about this because it's not very nice.
Been a lot of that.
As you might expect. It's a nasty word, it's a naughty word. Well, it's not really naughty when you think about it, but... Oh, what am I talking about? It's the word which means bread and milk. It's a Victorian word. And the children in the nursery used to talk about their ruders. I'm not going to eat my ruders this morning. And Nanny would belt them. It's a mulch that they were given. They didn't like, so they gave it a rude name, ruders. Not very inventive of them, but inventive of them. Can we do all this again, please?
Can we get some kind of lead out of this? Is it a mulch or is it bread and milk?
It is a mulch. It's
a mulch that you put on
like bread and milk. Yes. If you mulch bread and
I think what he's trying to say is that it's a mulch that you put on children. Or you did, isn't it?
No,
Not quite.
You put mulch on plants.
Yes, you're getting warm.
You put mulch on plants.
Well,
you don't normally put bread and milk on
You
plants.
put it into children.
Except for breadfruit.
I think he means it's soppy sort of food. I think...
That's
is that
right,
it?
that's
God
right.
bless you.
Yes.
Well, let's go on to Barbara Kellerman, who may well still be here. Your turn.
After all that.
It's the word used for pompous archaeologists that who call it's for a ruined building. The word ruders, and it's used also for derelict artifices and so on. I mean, edifices is the word I'm looking for. And the Colosseum in Rome, the Pantheon at Athens are examples of respectable ruders. Whereas, say, a partly demolished or bomb-scarred public convenience would be a ruders.
A joke.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Very good. Very good. Patrick, for the draw, you're going to have to top that, I'm afraid.
There's another joke to come. For heaven's
Oh,
sake.
here's richness.
Ruders, like twins and trousers, come in pairs.
Maggots.
Ruders are very thickly woven gloves. It's a Worcestershire name. Come up to the elbow. If you want to pick blackberries or gooseberries, all those prickly beasts,
With your elbows.
you want your ruders on, see? Thick Worcestershire gloves for blackberry picking.
Good. So it's a word for ruins. It's sloppy food or all that, and a rude word for same. And it's thick gloves in Worcestershire. Andre.
Oh, me, is it? Well, the gloves, yes. I don't... I've seen some people play the piano in Ruders in that case. Let's see. I'm not quite sure about that. And I don't think the Colosseum or public conveniences, no. I'm very hard-pressed to choose between the mush that you smear on kids and the gloves. I tell you what, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go for the gloves, Paddy. Yes.
You think the gloves? It was
Yes, I
Patrick
do.
who said they were big, thick Worcestershire gloves. True or bluff?
You silly fool!
Who gave the true definition? Here it comes. It's there. It's there. She's got... Oh, she's milking the moment.
No.
There it is.
Very well done indeed. Very confused.
It's an archaeologist's word for the ruin she spoke of, certainly. Let's have another word. Beglabeg, I think, is the next one. Pronounce it as you will. Andre Previn.
Beglabeg is a word for the Cornish miracle plays. They are given in Old Cornish, certainly an accent you should do, Tom. And they extol the virtues of the various Cornish deities, such as Penridog, the maker of thunderstorms. See? And the reason I know that, I hasten to add, is because it is the actual title of one of them. It's Penridog, master of thunder, or maker of thunderstorms. That's the only one I've seen. That's what it is. It's a Cornish miracle play.
What knowledge!
Isn't it astounding?
Brilliant.
It's going now
Considering.
to be Tina Brown's turn, I'm sure.
Well, a beglabeg is a form of particularly vicious avalanche which happens in the Hebrides every so often as a result of the sea chopping away under cliffs. And then gradually it dislodges the silt from the top and the whole lot comes down over the luckless Hebrideans who might be underneath it.
Well, it would.
So
yes.
it's
Frank, your turn.
So, Beglabeg, you are going to hope, I'm going to say, Paddy, is a junior Turkish official, aren't you? He's not. No. It's a senior Turkish official. And no, wait. It's a very senior Turkish official.
Yes?
Yep. And he's the governor, I might say, a governor of a Turkish province. And the pecking order, no rubbish here, the pecking order is Sultan, Grand Vizier, and Begler Beg. Very awkward word, that I might say. That's it. He's senior Turkish official, for once.
Yes. Well, a welcome return, then, for the senior Turkish official, governor of the Turkish province. An avalanche it is, and it's a Cornish miracle play. And Tom Conti gets to choose.
Oh. Ha ha ha, let's put the cat amongst the pigeons. I thought it was ha. Yes, the avalanche, I'm not sure that I believe the avalanche.
Beware the awful avalanche.
Yes. The Turkish official, there was something the last time I played this game that was awfully like that, which makes me want to discard this. It was a peripatetic something or other. I believe it was yours, Tina. So, again, the assurance and the absolute definite delivery of Andre Previn wins the day. I'll say that it was the miracle play.
Well, the Cornish miracle, but Andre Previn.
It's very simple. You see, he actually played Penridog, and that's why.
We can't win them all, Sam.
Now, here comes a moment of truth. We'll get to know whether it really was, for once, a Turkish official. I can't believe it, really. Who gave the true definition? I don't believe it.
Fez is familiar.
Oh, dear.
I told you, I warned you, I told you.
This time was a Turkish official.
All
Not
right,
a
then.
disease of sheep, but a Turkish official. 2-2, that's very interesting. Let's have another one. Sandling is the next one. Barbara, your turn.
Yeah, well, it's a strip of elastic whose function is to stop a sandal from flying off your foot, basically. From the word, sandling. If you plan to do anything energetic in sandals, like dance the kachuka, it says here, it would be prudent to have 2 sandlings per foot, one over the instep and one round the ankle. It stops the sandal flying off.
I think you eat a kachuka.
Yes, you've got to
Yeah,
have
but you can
good,
also dance one,
yes.
too.
you've got to have good jaws, though, I think. Patrick, it's Patrick's turn now.
A sandling is a pig approaching its second year. Up to then, a fairly happy life. Now it's about to be turned into sausages and streaky bacon. But the way to judge the age of a sandling is when the rooting teeth are as long as the first joint, not of my thumb, but of anyone's thumb, apart from babies. A sandling is a young pig almost ripe for streaky bacon.
Yeah, right. Tom, it's your go now.
Sandling is rainbow-coloured, sort of vitreous scum.
You must lift yourself out of these things.
If you heat glass in a crucible, then this rises to the surface. It could all be used. It could also be used as a swear word. You rainbow-coloured vitreous scum, you. That's what it is. It's also known as glass gall.
You young swine.
It's a 2-year-old pig. It's scum on the top of melted glass, and it's elastic that keeps your sandals on. Tina.
Well, I think I've got to discount the psychedelic scum, rather.
I don't think that is dirty work.
I don't think sandling is that. I think that the elastic on the sandal is a little bit too simple to be true in my suspicious mind. And I may opt for the middle-aged pig of Paddy's here.
A thumb-sized pig.
What's happened? Has the game advanced at all?
The pig, sir.
You're choosing the pig.
I am.
Yes, right.
Paddy,
Well,
in
that
fact.
was Patrick, wasn't it, who said that all about pig, true or bluff?
But a very unwise choice.
No. Who gave the true definition of the word sandling? It comes now. It cannot long be delayed.
It had to be another.
Yes, indeedy. It's a little bit of stuff, elastic, that keeps your sandal on. It's got to be called something, and that seems a reasonable name. Hongi is the next one. Tina Brown.
Well, if you fancy a really high or gamey grass, this is your bag, frankly, this hongi. It's an Ethiopian pate made out of antelopes who've been kept in pretty raunchy conditions for a rather long time. And that's what hongi is. Next time it's on the a la carte. Plump for hongi.
So, right, that's that. Frank, your turn.
Not everybody enjoys kissing. I do, but I'm not everybody. Some people don't. The Eskimo, because that's a plural word, don't. They rub noses. But in New Zealand, the Maoris don't rub noses, but they prefer contact of the nose to that of the lips. So what they do is, if they wish to greet a loved one, greeter A presses his or her nose against greeter B without rubbing, just a firm, delightful pressure.
Is greeter B a man or a woman?
Doesn't matter, Paddy.
What a mess.
Thank you.
I think you've got a fine grasp of essentials there. Priorities, Patrick, certainly. Andre, your turn.
Well, I have to be truthful. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it correctly, because it is a word that comes from Bolivia. It is, in fact, a Bolivian Indian word, and it refers to the spirit which they hold in very high regard. It is an all-pervading spirit, and it therefore pervades or part occupies, if you like, everything in the world. Right down to these glasses, this pencil. We all have, or everything does have, a bit of hongi or whatever you like in it.
So it's, you say it's a Bolivian, it's a spirit inhering in things. It's a Maori greeting, and it's a very high Ethiopian pate. And so Barbara Kellerman makes her choice.
It all sounds so extraordinary. Eethiopian pate from antelopes.
High antelopes, even.
Even. Ew.
Ooh.
It's not everybody's choice, but some people find it.
I don't know. I'll leave that. Kissing by noses. Hongi.
Hongi. Hongi, you pronounce it at the time.
Oh, it doesn't sound right. Oh, it doesn't sound right. It's such an unpleasant sound for such a nice thing. I don't know. No. All-pervading spirit. Gosh.
Gosh.
Do you want a penny?
Oh, gosh. Yes, you think it is, do you? I don't. I don't know.
This is
Gosh.
well nigh unbearable.
You're out on your own,
I'll go for
darling.
the spirit.
Yeah.
The spirit.
The spirit.
Don't let me down.
No, it was Andre who said it was a Bolivian spirit. Was that just a tease, or was it the true thing?
Would I tell
Yes.
you?
You see. No, didn't mean that. Meant something else. Here
Let's
it
see
comes.
yours,
Now you
Frank.
have
Oh,
it.
Frank,
Here
no,
it
don't.
comes. Who's got it?
Saw it in her eyes.
I warned you.
Rotter.
I warned you, darling.
It is a Maori greeting. 3-all. Most interesting, 3-all. Here comes the other word, rompney, and Patrick will define it for us.
Rompney, which is the old word for Romney. If that's how one pronounces Romney. You know, the marshes. But Rompney is a kind of peat that you can dig out of the Romney or the Romney marshes. But it's fine for an occasional daffodil, but it's death to your roadies and your azaleas, because it's so alkaline, it cuts them off at the roots. What are you all laughing at? The death of a plant?
Now you've made us all feel sad again.
Yes.
Tom Conti, tell us something now.
Well, Henry VIII declared that Rompney should never, ever be sold at over 12 pence a gallon.
Quite right.
It was booze, and it was bought from Greek traders. What they called it in Greece, I don't know. Here it was known as Rompney.
It was just booze, you know, kind of booze, yeah, you know. Alcoholic anyway,
Greek wine.
yeah, let's face
Wine.
it. Greek wine, good.
Wine.
Barbara?
Yes, a rompney is a sailor's splice that makes a loop out of a rope's ends. It's a kind of rope, and the end bits tie up and go through the centre of it into a knot. Well, you bend the rope back upon itself, you see. And most sailors call the splice a Flemish eye, but sailors from Devonport
Don't.
call it a rompney.
Yes. Right. So, it's this kind of loop that's woven and so forth. It's booze, he said, but what he really meant was Greek wine, I think. And it's peat from Romney or Rumney. Frank, your choice.
I think your sailors would have got knotted, you know, really, turning ropes backwards and whatnot. Patrick, our sort of tittering from this side of the house during your talk about the hazards of alkali soil on rhododendrons. Rhododendrons need alkaline soil.
They don't.
We better demolish that one. It's booze. Booze, Mr. Conti.
You choose the wine, the Greek wine.
A word.
Tom Conti, true or bluff? Here he comes.
You've got it upside down.
I don't know why you laugh. That means you've lost. Still, that's what it really means.
Stop enjoying
Absolutely right.
losing.
Bullseye from Frank there. 4-3. Yes, I think we have nice-ish time for Collard. Frank, nice-ish time.
One could picture many centuries ago a nobleman with a well in his garden, and people keep falling down it. So he says to his stonemason, devise me some kind of coping, signed a well-wisher. I put that in just to jolly up the atmosphere a bit. And in fact, a collard is the coping on top of a well on which you put the lid to stop people falling down it.
Andre, your turn.
A collard is, or was, a slave or a serf who has been excused, mind you, temporarily, from whatever his duties as a serf or a slave were, because of incapacity, illness, age, whatever else he could come up with. So he went to, not to sick bay, but to collard day, as it were.
Now, Tina, you're going to have to do it fairly quickly.
A collard is a heartless Essex cabbage. A cabbage without any clump in the centre.
That's as good as a sonnet, that is.
Yes.
She just said it's a cabbage with no heart from Essex. It's a ridge round a well, and it's a serf, an elderly serf, pensioned off. Would you like to choose, Patrick?
I should pension off the conductor instantly with all that stuff. If we're in a hurry, I can also get rid of the well-wisher, because I happen to know this word. It's of Irish extraction. It's a kind of cabbage. Let's see a card down.
Yeah, well, now, has he chosen correctly? Tina, true or bluff?
Oh,
yes! You know, there are some people who don't think it's fair if you know the word. You have to guess.
I'll tell you
I
what,
think it's perfectly
I'll tell you
fair.
what, I knew Romney.
Oh, did you?
It's in my book.
Ah, but did you have that? I've forgotten already. And did you choose it? You did, or you didn't? But you didn't admit to knowing it.
No. Well, see any heartless cabbage there?
Well, there, what a charming end to any game. 4 all. No one is the winner, none the loser. A little applause, if you please. We'll be back next time with more words you have to have a man with a red flag walking in front of. Until then, goodbye from Tom Conti, Andre Previn, Barbara Kellerman, Tina Brown, Patrick Campbell, Frank Muir.
Good night.
And goodbye. Hello again. We have Call My Bluff, television's answer to ladies' cricket, featuring Frank Muir.
My first guest is a delightful actress coming back on the programme. She seems to come back, I'm happy to say, every season. We've wrenched her away from the Bristol Old Vic. Gabrielle Drake. My second guest is new to the programme, ex-Don, ex-soldier, ex-diplomatist, now chairman of the Commonwealth Institute and television's reigning mastermind, Sir David Hunt.
And the midfield dynamo, Patrick Campbell.
Good evening. And my first dear little cuddly guest is always in season for Call My Bluff, my dear little friend Pauline Collins. And my other guest is very new to this program. In fact, he's never been anywhere near it before. But he's a kind of lovely lump of leaven in the back pages of the New Statesman, Arthur Marshall. What's your name, is it?
So we ring for a word and we get it, and it's pezizza. And what happens is, as you recall, Frank Muir defines pezizza, if that's how you pronounce it, 3 different ways. 2 of the definitions are false, 1 is true, and that's the one that Patrick and company try and pick. What of this word, Frank?
I think probably pezizza.
Ah.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain, really. Had circumstances been otherwise, one could have anti-pezizzas on the back of your sofa instead of anti-macassars, because it was a kind of resinous, very heavy oil from South America, from South American bushes, which people stuck on their hair the last century. Sort of greasy hair oil. Overwhelmed by the success of macassar oil, it is now totally unknown, except to me, and now to you.
David Hunt's turn now.
The pezizza is a giant mushroom. It grows in the forest, and it's usually found on the stumps of fallen trees, or occasionally cut down trees. It eats away at the sap, or rather the rotting wood, and you can eat it too, because it's perfectly edible. It's, I'm told, edible, not very attractive. It has a large yellow cap, and both the cap and the stem of it are all covered in hairs, a colour between yellow and orange, not unlike somebody's tie across the way there.
I thought a touch of mastermind would cheer up this wretched game. Gabrielle, your turn.
Pezizza is a rather delicious liqueur, much enjoyed by the white population of Mozambique. And if you want to know how to make it, you in fact take the kernels of some plums and some apricots and some peaches, and you put that all into a spirit and soak it and distill it, and you leave it for a number of years for it to ferment and dissolve, and then you don't drink too much of it all at one go because it's very, very potent.
All right, they say these things, that it's a liqueur, that it's a great big giant mushroom, and it's a resinous hairdressing that was superseded by something else. Patrick.
If some mastermind thinks that mushrooms can feed the sap of fallen dead trees, no mastermind he, I would suggest, with due respect. Stuff on the back of sofas.
No, I didn't say that.
What did you... You're always right on about drink, Gabrielle.
It runs in my mind.
It must be hairy mushrooms.
Hairy mushrooms, large hairy mushrooms, on which David Hunt spoke. True or bluff?
It isn't.
Well done. Very good. Yep, great big mushrooms are what pazizas are. Thokester, or they'll pronounce it every which way, I suppose. But anyway, Patrick's going to tell you about it first.
A Thokester is now happily a disused word from Winchester College for Boys. And it's made its way into the Oxford Dictionary. God knows how it got in. Because it means a layabout at Winchester. Now, it's a well-known fact that all Winchester schoolboys want to be Prime Minister from the age of 14 onwards. So how they could ever come to be called Thokesters, or liar-beds, or lazy heads, I cannot imagine, but that's what they are called.
Right, now it's Arthur Marshall's go.
Thokester is a rather jolly midwinter feast celebrated in the Orkney Islands. It begins on December the 21st, which, as we know, is the longest night of the year. But in spite of that, it continues well into December the 22nd, I'm sorry to say, because a tremendous amount of boozing goes on. Munching too, but chiefly boozing. Thokester.
Right. Pauline, your turn.
A Thokester is a wicker basket, which is used by a brewer to help strain his beer. It's filled with pebbles, and it's placed over the drain hole of the vat. And then all the beer runs through these pebbles, and the pebbles and the wicker between them combine to take out the impurities, such as the old hop leaves.
What a good idea.
It is, isn't it?
Well, see, you're never without one, it seems, when you're straining your beer. That's what it's used for, says Pauline Collins. It's an Orcadian feast, and it's an idler at Winchester. Frank.
Yeah, sorry, I'll come back to you later. I'll finish the story later.
Yes.
Orcadian feast is very interesting. Thokester, it isn't it, but it's an interesting bluff and beautifully done. The basket with the pebbles in is hold that one for the moment, and we come to Paddy and the layabout Winchester boy. Now, a layabout Winchester boy would not be called a Thokester, as you said yourself, Paddy. So we'll choose that, shall we?
Pardon?
I say it's you, sir.
Oh.
He say it Patrick Campbell. True or bluff?
Is it?
Well, well, well. I can hardly wait. It's there. You played that at a real venture, didn't you, Frank? That was a real venture. I mean, you were really guessing that.
No,
you weren't.
Actually, David and I had worked out that was probably it.
Oh, I see. I shouldn't.
I was trying to convince.
I shouldn't pry further. More than my position's worth. 1-1, and we have this word stenchel. David Hunt, your turn.
A stenchel, it means a man, or in another sense, it means a form of tenure. It's a technical word from the Forest of Dean in Gloucestershire, which was governed, as you all know, by the forest laws. Now, all the tenants and foresters were governed by the forest laws, and they had a number of interesting names which would be far too numerous for me to mention here. But I will say that the stenchel was a man who held by the strange tenure that he was under an obligation to skin and disembowel any deer or stag that was slain by the lord of the manor.
What a job.
Yeah, well, sooner him than
Not
me.
a good job.
Gabrielle, your turn now.
Well, as any artist will know, a stenchel is a simple but necessary part of his equipment. Well, any artist who paints in oils, because it's a tin receptacle, and he has in this tin receptacle either turpentine or oils, and if he wants to stop painting for a few minutes and have a cup of tea or rearrange the folds of his model, he puts his brushes into this stenchol to keep them soft and pliable, so that when he's finished whatever it is he's doing, he can go back again and paint with lovely soft pliable brushes.
It's called a mug, isn't it?
Frank, it's your turn.
I am an old trout of the late part of the last century, about to have a nasty shock. I'm swimming around, ignoring all the crudely tied flies, artificial flies, which are flogging the lake, because I'm old and wise. I can tell a real fly from an artificial, until I have this nasty shock, because there is what is clearly a true fly, because it isn't just a normal wool and feather thing, but it's dark blue with a bit of shiny substance at the back and silvery wings. But the shiny substance makes me think it's a real fly, and I get hooked. And that fly is called a stenchel, after the chap who invented it, whose name was Mr. Stenchel. So they called his after him, you see.
Well, it's S.J. Stenchel.
It's an eponymous fly.
Thank you.
No, it's a fishing fly. It's a brush holder, put the brushes down in the middle of painting, and it's a forester, was a forester in the Forest of Dean. Arthur.
But have a brush to yourself.
Well, that was awfully disagreeable. Disemboweling deer, form of tenure in forests. Oh, dear me, it sounds as though it might be right. This thing, receptacle for paint brushes. What a very elaborate word. And also Mr. Stenchel and his trout. I think I go for disemboweling deer. Form of tenure in the forest.
Yeah, the forester who had that form. Anyway, you said it. True or bluff was that, David?
Yes,
you did indeed. You have to own up now.
I got to do that.
You have to tell them now.
It is.
There, you see. Hardly believe a man with a face like that can tell fibs, but there you are. You're just going to take that sort of thing on the chin. Who gave the true definition? It's a fairly complicated name for a mug in which you stick the brushes, but it's true.
Something to do with stem.
Now, let's have another word. Orky is the next word, and Arthur Marshall will define it for us.
Well, now, orky is a rather old adjective. It's really of Chaucerian vintage, and it means shameless and or unrepentant. I think it comes in the monk's tale. Think well upon thy sin, that nothing of it be orky, lest thou die unshriven. It's not a nice adjective at all. We don't use it now. But it means shameless, orky.
No wonder no one ever reads that particular tale, don't you find? Pauline, your turn now.
Well, an orky was the smallest and least valuable coin that a 17th century Dutchman would carry in his pocket. It was worth about a quarter of a stiver, which was very little. And the most you could buy for that was one Dutch bulb or a wedge of Edam cheese.
And quite enough to pay too. Patrick.
An orky is a kind of feather in the cap of a West Country arable farmer, but he doesn't wear the feather, nor is it a feather.
Oh dear, dear.
Because an orky is part of the last stook, what the West Country arable farmer has gathered off his land, and he ties it onto the collar of his horse when he goes into market. And this merely means all is safely gathered in.
don't understand a word of that.
Yeah, no, I like a 3-volume novel. Well taken. Anyway, so it's barefaced or shameless. The last stook of corn, or part of the last stook of corn gathered in, and it's a small Dutch coin. David Hunt, your choice.
We might be wrong, but we're unanimous.
I'm happy to have your support, because, my goodness, I was swept off my feet. A gentleman who can compose Chaucerian lines, just like that, in a flash. How could he tell that the whole of these works I've had by heart since I was 5, and therefore... very bad luck. Yes.
10 points.
And the misery of it is, again, how could he know? How could she know? I beg your pardon. My studies in 17th century Dutch numismatics, it really is hell. As I say, you will never know what it is when fate is slipping the horseshoe into the boxing glove. So I think I shall come down to the last stook, to their agricultural observation. Patrick Campbell, whatever it was he said.
Well, he did say it was a lot. Quite clear to me, I must say. But anyway, Patrick, own up, my dear chap. True or bluff?
You're a little short of your knowledge of West Country.
Added pleasure meeting a mastermind, I should think, Patrick. Now, who gave the true definition? It's there. You have us in suspense.
Yes.
What was it?
Pauline, yes, indeed. It's the tiny Dutch coin of which Pauline Collins spoke. Now we have the next word, and that is Boet or Bowet, and Gabrielle, it's your turn.
Well, if anyone is unlucky enough to encounter Anne Boleyn walking along in the tower, or the ghost of Anne Boleyn, of course under one arm she'll have her head, but in the other she's very likely to be carrying a boet, because a boet is a Tudor lantern. It had a candle in it. It was a lantern with one candle in it, and a Tudor lady could, for instance, light herself to bed with a boet.
Yep. Now, Frank Muir tells us.
A boet could best be described as a ship's eyebrow. You've got a porthole, but a scuttle, as we sailors say. And a boet is a curved thing which just with a sort of rim that goes along part of the top, acting like a human eyebrow does to prevent water going into the eye, or in the case of a ship, the scuttle, and just diverting it round the side. So now, I thought you were going to rebut me.
You dropped off to sleep.
And now let us hear what David Hunt says.
Well, I could easily wake him up now, if I really gave my mind to it, because I'm back in the forest again. And if I was in better voice, I would give you a musical illustration. Because a boet is a call blown on a bugle or a hunting horn. And
please.
Thank you, sir. Yes, shake the mouthpiece out a bit more first. And it is a generic term covering all the calls known to the hunter. They had very large numbers. There was the mort, there was the halalee, there were various others which are too numerous again to mention. But whichever they were, every one of them was a boet.
That's the collective term.
Yes, it means any kind of hunting call.
I see.
Yeah, that was a jolly good question, Pauline, that was.
Come
and
here,
you're asking
Fox.
the right man there. Anyway, it's a bugle. It's a bugle call, sound from a trumpeter bugle, a sort of mullion over a porthole, and a Tudor lantern. Now, Pauline.
What did you say, Patrick?
No, talk to my friend.
Oh, I see.
Listen to your teammate.
I like all the descriptions of your calls, David, of your hunting calls. I would have thought that a collective call might have had a slightly more plural-sounding name. So I'll discard that. Frank's
Yes.
eyebrow is very picturesque and extremely a sensible idea, I think,
really.
to have
Not
in
really.
the ship. It also sounds vaguely nautical.
Rubbish.
Gabrielle's lantern to light Anne Boleyn to bed. It doesn't sound anything like a lantern or a candle. And she was sparkling too much when she said it.
She can never sparkle too much.
No, of course she can't. I think I'm going to choose the ship's weather eyebrow.
The thing over the
Yes.
porthole of which Frank spoke. True or bluff?
No?
I think so. Don't put it off any longer.
You know the rules.
That was very convincing, very useful thing it would be, but it wasn't that. Who gave the true definition?
Let's see it, Gabrielle, please.
We'll see. She's sparkled to some effect there, because it certainly is, you know, that Tudor lantern. 3-2, carmousel is the next word. Pauline Collins, your turn.
Well, a carmousel was a most delicious concoction. It was a fruit salad, very much favoured by poor old mad George III. It was composed of a mixture of fruits, all sorts of things, oranges, apples, quince, anything that was succulent, and they were all stewed together in a kind of syrup, probably made out of honey, I should think, and then the whole thing was iced and cooled down, and it was eaten cold. Beautiful.
Right? Patrick's turn.
A camousal is a smallish Mediterranean ship with an exceptionally high poop.
Whistle?
No, poop.
Oh.
Exceptionally high poop was used for ferrying devout Muslims backwards and forwards from Mecca, of course backwards from the Mediterranean. Plenty of room for all aboard in a camousal.
Yes, they'd have to have a special boat, I suppose. Arthur, your turn.
Carmousal, it is of course French derivation. It's a riding term. It's the nearest that a horse and rider can get to doing a right-angled turn. I've never ridden, but I gather a right-angled turn would be very, very difficult. And the carmousal is the nearest that you can get to this. It's a term from dressage. Kindly adjust your dressage. And you're asked to do a series of these right-angled or left-angled, right-angled turns and form a sort of zigzag, carmousal.
So it's a sharp right-handed turn on a horse. Very difficult to stay on, I should think. It's a sailing ship, and it's a fruit salad much enjoyed by George III. I thought George III was a fruit salad. Anyway, Gabrielle, it is your turn to choose.
I was wondering whether he enjoyed it before or after he went mad.
I wonder.
We'll never know.
Well, it does sound absolutely delicious, but it doesn't sound terribly true. And this small Mediterranean ship with a high poop ferrying Muslims to Mecca.
And back.
And back again,
It's a
once
package,
more, yes. Yes. Well, yes, that sounds possible, and... Or the riding turn, the dressage,
Yes.
the right-angled turn. Well, I am very, very torn, but I think that it's undoubtedly this little Mediterranean ship.
That was
Package tours to Mecca.
Patrick said, yes. True or bluff, Patrick? He tells us now he has to.
Poop again.
No, there, it's 4-2. Carmousal is indeed that ship that Patrick spoke of. And now we have Trush, or Trush, or whatever, and Frank is going to define it.
Trush. It sounds like an Irish bird, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's... Did you say that?
Trush,
Only to my team leader.
Oh, it's not an Irish bird.